Right then, welcome back to another vid and another Games X vid, the first one for bloody ages, far too long. And this one, as you can see, is issue number 9 from the 21st to the 26th of June, 1991. I always do that, 1991, don't know why. It's such a long time ago, but it kind of seems like yesterday as well. By the way, let me apologise in advance for this, if you can hear that, probably can't hear it now. It's a creaky chair. And maybe you can see some wires in the PlayStation and all that kind of stuff. And also, let me apologise in advance, just in case I do any, there'll probably be a few, jump cuts, but we've just got a new kitten, Pippa's the name. She'll make a few appearances, I think, from now on in, I guess. Not this particular vid, but she can't keep still for 5 minutes. It's crazy. So, yeah, the jump cuts will be me probably telling her to stop tearing things. But you know what it's like, that's what happens when you get a new cat, and I didn't have any say in the cat at all. It just turned up one day. Long story, well, it's not a long story, but I'll save it for another day. I mean, she's cute, she's only a couple of months old, and we've had her for like a month now. But anyway, I digress. Games X from 1991, like I say, 21st to 26th of June, back in the day of 91. So this particular issue, we have a sneak preview there as to what's going to be in this mag, a review of Frenetic, Man United Europe. Yeah, it's a good game, to be fair. Heart of China, Prehistoric, and a few other bits and pieces down there. Arachnophobia. Do you remember the movie? That would have been around this time, wasn't it? I thought it was rubbish, but pretty freaky. Optimus there, who made a game called Pegasus, if that wasn't already obvious. Bill and Ted. And Meet the Rapping Rabbi. You don't really meet him, you kind of do. It's just basically a letter that lunatic sent in, who's a rabbi, apparently, who likes to rap. But the main story of this issue, I guess, is let's get together. Multiplayer games. Do multiplayer games really add that extra bit of spice? And there's a couple of pages, I think, devoted to it where they talk about the pros and cons of multiplayer gaming and where it's kind of going to go in the future, or at least how they thought it was going to go back in the day again. Too many back in the days. So let's turn the page. First bit of news we are given is Twilight 2000. That looks really good. I mean, obviously that's not graphics there. That's kind of graphics for today, but it wasn't back then. But look at that. That looks alright. Kind of diagonal view going on. But at the top there, that's weird. It's kind of got that. Maybe that's some kind of cutscene, like an intro sequence. But it does look like gameplay, but then that looks like gameplay, and that's like a 3D kind of view, if you like. As if maybe you're looking through the tank. Possibly. It looks pretty interesting. Might have to check that one out. And it probably says there, but I can't see it at an immediate glance. There we are. I was going to say, I didn't know whether it's out on Amiga or what, but it looks like it's going to be PC. Yeah, the game will be available first on the PC with other 16-bit versions to follow from Microprose this autumn. So maybe other versions came out. It's something to check out, I guess. There's Space Quest. Space Quest 1. Yeah, I love the graphics like that. I've touched upon this before. It's not just the graphics, which I think still hold up. I think they look amazing. But that kind of game, you know, adventure games in general, very immersive. And for me, just brilliant. That's a bit freaky, whatever that is. Some news on Codemasters there, releasing budget games. Elvira, or Elvira. But who wants to see that? You want to see the front cover. That's what we all like from that game. And if you don't know what that is, if you don't know the front cover to that game, seriously, where have you been living? Google it, as long as your parents aren't around. Unless you're in your 20s or your 30s, in which case I don't think you need permission from your parents to see a woman with a jugs out. Or maybe you do, I don't know. Let's move on. Enter Jason. So this looks like it's the new Southern News editor. Very precise there. Jason, where is it? Spiller. There he is. God, it's not wanting to focus, is it? There it is, finally focusing. The t-shirt tucked into the jeans, what a look. Strike Commander, and then just basically a preview of what's inside, so let's quickly crack on. Leisure Suit Larry, again another adventure game. Graphically, again for me, holds up, looks really nice. Not wanting to zoom in again there, but whatever. LeChuck's Revenge, so Monkey Island 2. Fantastic game. In fact, is this like an adventure special? Everything seems to be kind of like role-playery, adventure point-and-click kind of thing. But yeah, I remember being annoyed at the time because this game came out on, well, the original one, Monkey Island on the Amiga and the ST, probably the PC as well, I imagine. But the Monkey Island 2, the sequel, LeChuck's Revenge, didn't come out on the ST. And me, at the time, being an ST owner, that really annoyed me. And my friends would have it on the Amiga. I mean, I did get to play it. You know, latterly, I had an Amiga myself, so I had it anyway. But while I had my ST, whilst Monkey Island 2 was out, I just played it at friends' houses, and it was brilliant. But it did annoy me. Look at that, it looks brilliant. So atmospheric. Am I on my own there? Surely not. News on the Mega Drive CD. What does it say here? Sega last week launched its long-awaited CD drive, the something, at the Japan Toy Fair. Bit of an editorial mistake there. The machine is designed to be linked to the 16-bit console, the Mega Drive. Price in Japan is 49,000 yen, about 210 quid. It looks like it will reach a state in early 92 and could arrive in the UK just in time for next Christmas. Very little is known about the drive, and especially how much software support will be given to the machine, but it's understood that there are 27 licenses for the Mega CD, or licensees, I should say. Interesting. Kind of. Faceball 2000. Looks like the Game Boy. Probably is. Turn the page. Surprise, surprise, we get an adventure game. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. Yeah, again, looks really good. Graphics, sounding like a stuck record, but they very much, for me, hold up. Now, I'm not saying if this came out on, say, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, people would be delighted with it, but, you know, I'd be quite charmed by it, to be honest. But then I'm nostalgically biased. That's some stuff there, whatever all that's about. What's out and when? Anything sticking out here? Mercs on the Commodore 64, the Amstrad and the Spectrum. 12 quid. That's pretty pricey, I guess, isn't it, really? Sorcerer, Riders of Rohan, Swap, nah, rubbish. Everything's rubbish there for me, quite frankly, apart from Mercs, which is alright. Although, in all honesty, you know, after going back to Warzone lately, and I did a gameplay for that if anyone has seen it, I much prefer Warzone to Mercs, but maybe not everybody does. Gallop charts, turtles at the top. Dizzy, Viz, Lemons. Well, you can see the rest. Gods. Robocop 2. That was a good game. Power Up, which was a compilation. Switchblade 2. Is it Switchblade 2? I didn't see that. Where is that? Ah, number 9. There we are. Yeah, that's a good game. And it's really funny because I might have to do a gameplay of that actually. Maybe even the original one, but definitely Switchblade 2. Because the original Switchblade looks nothing like, or I should say Switchblade 2 looks nothing like the original. They've improved it so much. Big time. England Championship Special, new at number 12. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest game in the world. It basically just looks like, well, an overhead view like the World Cup 90 game. Was it just called Italia 90 or World Cup 90 on the Mega Drive? So a bit lazy there. Advert for Software City. Give them a call. 0902 253 04. They do accept your Visa, American Express and your Access. Doesn't say anything about PayPal. Let's see if there's any bargains there. Probably not. Well, anyway, that's boring. Let's move on. Yeah, so the missing link. So this is basically, and I'll scroll down, so if you want to pause it, you can possibly read it yourself, but you're probably not that interested. It's just talking about the need for multiplayer action. And this particular article, you know, it talks about how there's link-up cables, and you quickly kind of see that there with the Atari Lynx that they're using. The Game Boy, of course, had some kind of network adapter. Even the PlayStation 1, you know, before proper multi-game or multiplayer gaming really kicked in, you know, when it was popular. You know, you had your split screen on there, or your link-up that you have. I mean, I remember doing a link-up with a friend of mine. We had two TVs, put them back-to-back against each other, and played Doom. And it was amazing. You know, I mean, obviously in this day and age, it's so much simpler to just go online and connect on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or Steam or whatever it is for the PC. And that's brilliant, don't get me wrong, I do really like it, but there is something special about you and a mate or a group of friends being in the same room at the same time. Look at that, by the way. Early 90s VR machines. How cool is that? With bonus added Steam. Just to add to the kind of the mystique of it all. But yeah, there is something special about playing multiplayer games with friends in the same room. It's special times. But it may surprise some people, maybe, to know that multiplayer gaming, internet gaming, you know, through online, was actually knocking about, you know, quite some time ago. I mean, for example, you could link up an Amiga. How cool is this? You could link up an Amiga and an Atari ST, two separate systems, but have the same game, i.e. Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge 2, and you could play each other, which is quite remarkable, really, from a technological point of view. No idea how they can do that. Two separate systems, two separate games that look different, or kind of, sound different, of course. That was a big difference between Amiga and ST, but still play split screen. That's pretty clever. I mean, I didn't even know it existed, although thinking about it, I probably did back in the day, you know, hear that rumour that going around at the time of how you could do that with the Amiga and the ST, but it was too cost prohibitive. There's no way I could have done that, you know, afforded to go online and all that kind of stuff as a kid in my early teens. But that was that, and it's just touching upon here more two-player Game Boy games, Double Dragon. Not just on the Game Boy, of course. Double Dragon's a classic one I used to play on the ST and the Amiga. And every single time me and a friend would get to the end boss, and you had to have a fight-off to rescue the girl. I always won. Always won. There's some more there. Flight Simulator 2. Doesn't really strike me as a link-up game, but obviously it is. Stunt Car Racer. Two-player link-up mode is even more entertaining. Yeah, that's a good game, Stunt Car Racer. One which I really do need to get back into the old collection. Slime World. These are all on the links. Zalor Mercenary. Yeah, it's funny, I've been thinking about getting a Lynx lately. I don't know why, I guess I'll save that for a future pick-up vid or a chat vid or whatever. I'll probably buy it and then think, why did I rebuy this? It's rubbish. But I'm just getting a little bit nostalgic. And that's what happens when I look through these magazines. Always makes me kind of want to go back. Not permanently. I don't think I could handle that. But makes me kind of want to go back and visit on my own terms, as and when, like the early 90s. It was just such a great era. It's crazy. So, little advert here for Special Reserve. The usual. Not offering too much different than they have in previous issues. First review of the magazine. Frenetic. Now this is made by Core Design, interestingly, kind of, who made Warzone, and that's why it, to me anyway, looks kind of similar. The graphical look that they use. It's a shoot 'em up though, like a space kind of shoot 'em up as such, rather than like an Ikari Warriors clone. You just control spaceships and all the rest of it. Although you're not exclusively in space, just in different planets and all that kind of stuff. Now, this one is for the Amiga, also out on the ST, and 4 out of 5, so clearly a bit of a decent score there. There's a few of the weapons that you can use, and I will be doing a gameplay to this very soon because I've got it and I've been playing it, and I'm liking it. It's good. It's not amazing, spoiler alert, but pretty good if you like your shooters. But it doesn't really offer anything new, but, you know, it does what it says on the tin. There's the intro, still there for anyone who really wanted to see that. Too late, you've seen it now. Anyway, and just to sum it up, overall, I thought Frenetic was a really great game, which will undoubtedly be very popular when it is released at the end of this month. The shoot 'em up continues to go from strength to strength. Very true. Next review is one of these double-page spreads. First up, we've got Arachnophobia, if you remember from the front cover there, the bottom left. And this one's reviewed on the PC, also available on the Amiga and the ST. £25.53. Very precise. Title screen. Doesn't want to focus. You waited an extra 3 seconds just to see that. And it kind of looks like an overhead SimCity thing there, doesn't it? But that doesn't, kind of like a side view. Yeah, creepy. Never been a big fan of spiders, gotta be honest. Freak me out. And then next up, we have Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and this one's on the Amiga. Did I say they gave that 3 stars? I can't remember. But anyway, Bill and Ted's, this one gets 3.5. Although that looks more like 3.25, really. And here's some graphics down there. That doesn't look too bad. I mean, basic, obviously. But that's alright. And there's the hip dudes. How funny. There's a zoom in there. Some historical legends. Some historical lunatics. Look at Genghis Khan's face. Look at all their faces. Beethoven. Look at that. Funny. Brilliant. So like I say, that's for the Amiga. 3.5 stars. Next up, also for the Amiga, is Prehistoric. Platforming game. Looks pretty straightforward and simple. I have played this many, many years ago. Probably around about 91, 92, funnily enough. It looks very cute. Cute platformer. But from memory, don't think it was particularly amazing. Although, with that said, 4 out of 5. Maybe I should go back to it. Again, 25.53. This is the thing, I never ever remember seeing a price like that. I saw a few 24.99s in the shop, I saw a few 25.99s, which I always thought was weird, but never something like a 53. That's really, really odd. And then we've got Heart of China. Now I think, can't swear to it, I think this also came out on the Amiga, or at least it was rumoured to, but this looks really good. But a combination of like, again, an adventure game, which seems to be the theme of this magazine, mixed with full motion video, classic early 90s stuff of course, and you get a game such as Heart of China. and it doesn't look too bad, as it wouldn't do if it's kind of essentially using full motion video. 4 out of 5. Sorry, 5 out of 5. Well, there we are. 4085. They've gone up from 53. It's now 85. So yeah, clearly, as you can see, let's put it at the end there. To put it simply, if you want one of the best games available for your PC at the moment, try Heart of China, as it's one of the few games to justify the 40 quid price tag. Well, 40 quid 85, but I digress. So yeah, it looks pretty good. And I think it came out on the Amiga, but I'll have to double check that. Next up, we've got Volleyball, which gets 3 out of 5 for the Game Boy. As always, very, very difficult to focus in on these Game Boy graphics, just simply because of the way they looked. You know, with that kind of monochrome colour, if you like, to it, or monochrome style. You can't really work it out at all. But 3 out of 5, 20 quid, bang on the money. Man United Europe. Now, despite Man United not being everyone's cup of tea for many reasons, this one was a pretty decent game, gotta be honest. 4.5 out of 5, so yeah, I think it's deserving of that. Available on a plethora of systems. The Amiga, which this one's been reviewed for, very Amiga heavy as per usual. Atari ST, Amstrad, Commodore 64, Spectrum, IBM PC, and the Archimedes. Graphically, looks pretty good. Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories, this. I remember my friend buying this. I remember being with him at the time. We were in WH Smith's, and he really desperately wanted to get it. And we were going to get it in town, and then we changed our minds, but then we went back later that day, and we got it. I say we got it, I mean he paid for it. Typical of what happened back then, you know, a friend of mine at the time, he would buy these games and I would end up keeping them. It's just the way it worked. I'm like a year and a half older than him, and I really took the piss, quite frankly. Not in a nasty way, but you know what it's like when you've got younger friends or younger brothers, whatever it is. You take advantage, and I certainly did. But yeah, a pretty good football game. Now, the one big difference, for anyone who cares, that I remember from the Atari ST and the Amiga version is, if you can see there, if it wants to focus, the Amiga version doesn't want to focus, does it? Kind of does eventually. The Amiga version's got the substitute bench and the crowd at the top of the pitch and behind the goals, and I don't think the ST did. I think it just kind of had the advertising hoardings. So it still painted the illusion quite successfully that you were, you know, in a football stadium, but without the crowd, it kind of lacked a little bit. It was only an aesthetic thing. It didn't do anything, of course, but the Amiga version, with having the fans in the background, did make it look better. But in terms of this, like the actual pitch, the net, the goal, the players, the menu system, the menu screen, everything did look the same and it played the same, but aesthetically the Amiga version, as was typical back then, did have the edge. And of course, sonically, I don't mean sonically the Hedgehog, in terms of its sound, the audio, the Amiga always came out, well, 9 times out of 10 came out on top. So that's that. Turn the page. We've got this bit, which is gain access to all the latest info on your format. So basically mini reviews. Super Squeak on the Atari ST comes in at 4 out of 5. Pretty generous, but a nice little puzzle game. We've got Toki, or some people say Toki. It isn't, it's Toki. That's unofficial, of course. I've just always said Toki, so seeing as I've been saying it for 25 years, I'm not going to change now. Never will. Toki on the Amiga. Yeah, platform game, pretty decent. 4.5, that seems generous, but it was a decent game. Life and Death on the Amiga, which looks like some kind of training for medical students. 4 out of 5. 3 out. No, sorry. Go back on my original one. 4 out of 5. In fact, as it says there, a great game for medical students. The Hunt for the Red October. I believe 2 versions came out of this game. And obviously this one for the Atari ST, 2.5. Wow, not very good. I don't actually think I've ever... Oh no, that's a lie. I was going to say I don't think I've ever seen The Hunt for the Red October, the movie. I have. But I may have to watch it again because it's been a long, long time. And then Prehistoric for the Atari ST. Well, we've just seen a bigger review on the Amiga. Why they felt the need to put it in here for the Atari ST is a little bit of a mystery, but 4 out of 5 for the ST. Now this is kind of interesting, very briefly. It's just obviously advertising a couple of magazines, but first of all we've got Amiga Action, and then we've got ST Action. Now anyone who remembers, and I touched upon it earlier on, the Warzone video that I did for the Amiga, I said in that video that I remember buying a magazine, and I couldn't figure out what magazine it was, but that magazine did have a demo of Warzone on the front cover. And if you want to zoom in any second now, it kind of wants to. There we are. We see Lords of Chaos and Warzone, along with another game on the left-hand side that I can't quite work out. And that cover does look familiar, so I reckon that was the magazine where I was first introduced to Warzone, because it came with the demo disc. And that particular one, as you can see, is issue 39 from July 1991. So yeah, basically the month after this particular magazine, this issue of Games X. So that's that, and Warzone as well, coincidentally, on the front of Amiga Action. First through the Checkered Flag. Yeah, this was a really nice feature. It was Games X. They teamed up with Gremlin Graphics, or Gremlin teamed up with Games X, whichever way you want to phrase it. And it was for a competition where the winner would get to design, or have their design, I should say, of a track in Lotus 2. The actual design they came up with would be implemented into the game, which is amazing. You wouldn't get that these days. Imagine like Activision or Treyarch or, I don't know, EA saying, oh, do you want to design a map for Battlefield? Or they wouldn't let you, because all they do is rehash old maps, of course, and then you've got to pay twice for it. But that's an argument for another day. But I will just very, very quickly say, I haven't downloaded it, but I had a look the other day, by chance, I didn't even know it was out, the latest map pack for Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and there's 4 multiplayer maps, and 2 of them are literal reskins, reimaginings of previous maps, which so you're basically paying for it's the same stuff. It's ludicrous, and they've even taken it to a new level where they've reimagined in the latest map pack a former DLC map. So they're reimagining. God, it's a struggle to say that word. DLC maps now. That's how bad it's getting. But this is a really cool feature, like I say. This, and I don't know who won. Well, I guess it probably sits up there, doesn't it? I think it does. And I don't know if all of these ones would have featured in. That seems quite a lot. But I was looking at this. Where is it? It was quite interesting. Ah, there we are. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head whether these logs... Come on, focus. Ah, there we are. Focusing, finally. Logs. Give the drivers a bumpy ride. So, logs, I do know, were in Lotus 2. Were they in the original? I can't remember. If they weren't in the original, but they were in 2, which I'm pretty certain they were, was it down to this particular kid here? Gary May from Sheffield. Because he put that there, that suggestion. So, could have been down to him. Clever lad. Some more adverts, if you want to see that. Not so much adverts as such, more like mail order companies selling their stuff. Tipex, if you want to tip on Shadow Dancer on the Commodore Amiga. Well, you might want to pause it and have a look at that. There's Nemesis on the Game Boy. Viz on the Commodore Amiga again. Check that out. Gates of Zendikon on the Lynx. And Sam Strikes Out on the Sam Coupe. What is it, the Sam Coupe? I think I've struggled with that before, I'm not really sure. Who cares? Never had one. Doubt I ever will. Builderland as well is the last one on the Commodore Amiga. So there's your tips for this month. We've got a King's Quest V guide here. Part 1. Obviously continuing the evident theme of adventure games. For me, as I touched upon, looks absolutely brilliant. But as I also mentioned, I love these kind of games anyway. Really find myself getting immersed into them, you know, wondering what's behind, like all the buildings and in the distance and all that kind of stuff. Even as a young kid, I've always loved that. But then again, I always have had a bit of an imagination, so that definitely helps. But I just think, I do genuinely think, alright, it looks old, of course it does, it's early 90s. But I do think it looks really nice, if it's showing up. But I guess if you've grown up on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and all that kind of caper, then this is just not going to be of interest to the majority. We've got a survey there. This wasn't my original magazine. My name is not Robin Fisher, and I do not live there. But he was filling that out at the time. Classified adverts, should we see if there's any good ones sticking out? Swap Altered Beast for Mega Drive. I'm presuming he means he's got a copy of it, and he'll swap it for something else, rather than he has a copy of Altered Beast, and in return he wants an actual Mega Drive console. If that's the case, then I reckon Ray in Rochdale is a little bit optimistic. Swap my Super Famicom for either PC handheld or Mega Drive. And Game Gear. Greedy. Ah, look at that. I used to love that. I used to see it a lot as well. It was very common. You know, like fanzines. And there's a guy here. Does he say his name? He doesn't. But he gives his address. 11 Montgomery Drive. Don't go there. Don't stalk him. He probably doesn't live there anymore, and he certainly, I imagine, won't be doing the Lynx fanzine. But yeah, send a large self-addressed envelope to the address. I remember doing that quite a lot at the time, not to that address, obviously, but to many back in the day for various football stuff and music and games in particular in this kind of era. Anything else sticking out? A Neo, oh look at this one, Neo Geo, Nam 75, Ninja Combat, Magician Lord, Joy Kid, plus 2 joysticks, 590 quid. Contacts wanted. And Cheap Universal Energize wanted. I don't even know what that is. So the bill there, wanting 600 quid for his AES, probably worth it, to be fair. Anyway, move on. Designer North and South sequel. Now, did this ever come out? I don't know. Kind of embarrassed to say I don't know, but I will be Googling that sometime in the future, maybe. Because North and South was a really good game. Again, for me, looks brilliant, but completely clouded in rose-tinted nostalgic glasses. And yeah, interesting to see whether they did come up with a sequel. Obviously, the theme would have to be historical, you know, and somewhat factually accurate, and I think they do touch upon that somewhere in here. So there we are, that's that, North and South. Yeah, really good game, and it would be interesting to find out what happened with this in regards to a sequel being made, because I reckon that would be a very good game. Gallop chart, so this is the chart all across the systems. Switchblade 2 at the top of the Amiga, on the Atari ST, Armageddon, on the Commodore 64, Supremacy, Emlyn Hughes kicking in there, number 10, brilliant game. Best football game ever. That is official, that is a fact. Spectrum, I will do a gameplay one day. On the Spectrum, Dizzy Collection, Shadow Dancer, Robocop 2, some decent stuff there. On the Amstrad CPC, the king of 8-bit computers, that again is a fact. Golden Axe, Dizzy, always Dizzy, it's got to be there. Fists of Fury 2, which I think was a compilation. May have had Double Dragon 2 on there, that seems to ring a bell, but I could be wrong. And there we've got the Sega chart. Now, interestingly, and I first noticed this up here, and there's Warzone again. It's just like Warzone Mania lately in this magazine and on my channel. The US Mega Drive chart looks remarkably like the British one, with only a few exceptions. However, it won't be too long before all these games hit the UK. So yeah, kind of odd in a sense that that chart is an American chart, and as you can see down there, monthly US Mega Drive chart, or Genesis as it would have been, compiled by EGM USA. So maybe Games X had some kind of deal tied in with EGM where they put the Genesis chart, but it does seem a little bit odd. I don't quite know why they did that and not just the Mega Drive chart. Weird. Anyway, there's the budget chart, and as we can see, as per usual, hundreds upon hundreds of games, seemingly, slight exaggeration, from Codemasters at number 1, number 2, number 3. What else have we got there? There's another at number 8, at number 9. 10, oh no, sorry, 11, 12, 13, 14, unbelievable. So out of the top 15, what was that, 9 of them, 10 of them, all by Codemasters, and they really were such a dominant force back in the day. It's crazy. This made me laugh looking at this the other day. So this is Console World, 0709 893 066. Give them a call. They're in Sheffield, maybe they're still there. Does that address look familiar to any of you Sheffieldites? Sheffieldites, is that a term? Probably isn't. But this made me laugh, like I say, because I was looking at that, and can you even work that out? Imagine giving them a call, they'll be like, yep, good afternoon, Console World. Yeah, I'm looking at that game at the top for, I can't work it out, but what is it? You just can't read it. Rubbish advertising. I think, reading Final Fight, is that the 4th one down? F-Zero, I guess, underneath that, but bloody hell, talk about making a pig's ear out of their advertising. Why didn't they just stick to white writing or a better font than that, and green? Rubbish. So they probably went out of business the day after that this advert was placed, because it probably wouldn't have been cheap to place this advert as well. Anyway, programmers wanted, luxury heated cage, regular feeding times, good opening hours. Is that some kind of joke? I'm sure I haven't read that, but that must be Electronic Zoo. Oh, I see what they did there. Very clever. Early 90s humour at its best. And then we've got Dr. X. As I always say, he was a sarcastic little bugger who would just give cocky and sarcastic, witty answers. And if you really want to pause it, you'll probably, or if you're a very quick reader, you can probably see what I mean by that. So this guy's having trouble on Xenon 2. And he, there we are, gives him a few hints and tips. And all the rest of it. Predator, yeah, I thought that was rubbish. Predator 2 on the Amiga. It'll be one which I may get back eventually, although if it's expensive, and I highly doubt it will be. But if it is, I think I'll probably avoid it. But if I can pick it up for £1 or £2, in good condition, obviously, non-budget version, then I will. God's brilliant game, and I do have that. And again, I guess I'll do a gameplay of that eventually. Console connections. So we've got Cavern Noir, £21 on the PC Engine. Oh, PC Engine, what am I talking about? Oh, the supplier PC Engine, the machine is the Game Boy. I was thinking, yeah, it looks a bit dodgy for PC Engine. That's that. Next up we've got Zero Wing, which is kind of notorious for bad translation. Some really dodgy stuff going on there. Now, it's funny because I was watching someone doing a gameplay video of Zero Wing probably a few months back, and they played out the intro, like I say, infamous in the sense that there's a lot of kind of grammatical errors in it. And I left a comment, I went, oh God, you know, how funny that they let that kind of slip through the net. And the person, and I can't remember who it was, you might even be watching this, they replied and went, oh no, it was a deliberate error, they kept it in on purpose. Now, I don't think they did. I'd take them to task on that. I don't know why anybody would intentionally keep in errors like that in the intro. It was just basically bad translation because the world was a smaller place back then. You know, in terms of double checking and games being made in Japan and the language barrier, it's not as precise as it is today. You know, errors in games are far more uncommon these days than back then. So I think it was intentional, but the guy who made the vid seemed convinced that they'd made those errors deliberately as a way of kind of taking the piss and having a laugh, you know, at the whole Japanese kind of language, essentially, and the mistakes, like a parody kind of thing. But I don't think he's right there at all. But who knows? Who cares? Fire Mustang on the Mega Drive, £37 from Electro Games. I thought I said Electronic Arts there, but no, Electro Games. Doesn't look three bad. Bomber Boy on the Game Boy, 70%. So yeah, console connections, if it wasn't already obvious, it's just the latest news. Again, if you want to read that, you can. On everything console related and handhelds. More Worms. Never really got into Worms. I've played it a few times, but it's never really grabbed me, I've got to be honest. Okay, so here, as you can see, lovely young men, and old men maybe there as well, from a development team called Optimus, and they'd just been signed up at the time by Gremlin Graphics. And here it looks like they're doing a bit of a question and answering session. I don't know what that's about. But that reminds me of, what you call them? Not anchovies, what do you call them? On pizzas. The bloody things, I hate them. Olives? I guess they're olives, I don't know. But I don't like them anyway. And I spent half an hour taking them off, and then 30 seconds guzzling the pizza down. Brilliant. Yeah, so this game is Pegasus. So a platformer as such. I guess looks really nice. One which I don't think I've ever played, but one which I'm more than aware of, and was aware of it as a kid. And they're just talking about them as a company and all the rest of it, as per usual, sounding like a stuck record once again. But if you want to see any of these questions, or if you want to read them, then you can always pause it. But you're probably not that interested, and there they are. Look at that. Loving it. Absolutely loving that. Arcade Extravaganza. Talking about The Simpsons there, the arcade machine. Moonwalker. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, or Ninja if you're in America. And the Bat himself, Batman. So that's that. And then Street Talk. One of the greatest features of any magazine ever is Street Talk. This week it's in Chichester. Are you from Chichester? We've got Sheila Smith. Ladies don't give their ages. Chris Williams. I'll save the best to last, don't worry. Nathan Boyd, who works there, so he gets his discount, probably loving that. Kevin Donahue. We've got Tim Eiton, 15 apparently. Pull the other leg, Tim. He's about 58, but never mind. We've got the manager, Matthew Chard. Very happy man. And Neil Ramsey, who he looks like him, doesn't he? Wonder if they're the brothers. With a different name, doesn't make sense. So yeah, Neil Ramsey, and there we are, I had a sneak preview. The Killborns. Look at their faces. Look at their faces. Look at their clothing. Look at everything about it. It's brilliant. I'm not being critical. I'm kind of mildly nostalgically envious in a really perverse way. That is amazing. Let's read what they've got to say. Look at their faces first. Take it in. That's them. The Killborns. We bought the boys a Commodore 64 for educational reasons, but it soon became obvious that this was the last thing the machine was going to be used for. We actually encourage the boys to play games. It's more constructive than watching the box. Well, I don't think it is, to be fair, but never mind. We visited my brother last week and he's got a Game Boy. Well, I started playing Tetris and I couldn't put the thing down. We're thinking about buying a handheld. The Lynx looks good at 79 quid and it's in colour. I'm very tempted. So, there he is. Dad was very tempted. Wants to zoom in. Doesn't really want to zoom in. But yeah, and the kids and the wife, loving it there. Let's see what else they've got to say. And Neil Ramsey, I work for IBM. So I shouldn't really... They're all the same accents. Maybe I should try a Chichester accent. But what is that? Is it like a London thing? Should I butcher this? I work for IBM, so I suppose there's no prizes for guessing what machine I've got at home. That really wasn't a good accent. But I'm going to persevere. I've only just started to use it for entertainment. Because when you're surrounded by computers all day, it's the last thing you want to use in your spare time. I've started to play chess on a PC. And now I'm looking at strategy games and sports simulation. I'm keen to get the kids interested in the computer. And I guess this is... Oh, I butchered that. And I guess this is the best way of doing it. They've got a BBC for schoolwork. Shut it, you slag. He didn't say that bit. I made that up. Went a bit... what's his name? Ray Winston at the end there. That's the last time I'm ever going to do anything remotely Chichestery London, because that was dreadful. I can do better. But I might have to work on it. I think that's fair to say. So that's that. And that's completely going to be a useless bit of information I'm going to share here. But that bit there looks like a computer shop that used to be in the Metro Centre in Newcastle. The Metro Centre? Yeah, I'm back at the accents. That was a bit better, actually, wasn't it? Yeah, the Metro Centre in Newcastle, which might still be there, it might not be anymore. I don't know. But, well, the centre's there, the shopping centre, but I don't know if that computer shop's there. But that was a whole waste of 15 seconds there. The Blues Brothers used to have this on the ST. Really liked it. And there's some screenshots, once again, typical platformer. And it looks quite good. From memory, it played quite well, but it didn't bring anything new to the table, of course. But what it did, I thought, at the time, it did quite well. So that'll be another one I'll buy back at some stage in the future. Go Global. All the latest news going on in entertainment. Chuck Norris. Doesn't really look that much different now, does he, to be honest? So talking about videos there, movies, and down at the bottom there, whoever they are, Mystic Pizza. Is that a band? Are they three girls from a band, or are they just for, was it a shop called Mystic Pizza? I have no idea. But anyway, some things you could buy back then. Salt and vinegar discos and KP hula hoops. Absolutely love discos, especially when they're really salty. Sometimes you'd buy it and they'd be all dry and it'd be rubbish, but now and again you'd get a really salty flavour, and those would be the best. Eurythmics and Rod Stewart cassettes there. Here we've got, what is that, Sanyo? No, it's Philips. It kind of says it on it, like a bit of a giveaway. A Philips radio cassette recorder with a very early 90s logo there. Look at that. Crikey. Those clever people at Toshiba have brought out a video cassette recorder with LCD handset programming, as well as on-screen confirmation. God, look at that, 360 quid. But to be fair, you know, it does offer long play recording and playback, 365-day timer, digital tracking, 5-speed picture search, 1-touch record and child lock, and that's about it. But yeah, pretty good value. Not really. Or maybe it was back in the day. And I think I'm setting the world record for the amount of back in the days in this vid. Cassette recorder. Yeah, I used to like it when I'd get one like that. It would be like, you know, with a different colour in the background, or like a transparently silvery white grey thing. I don't know why, I still like it now. There's some Fred Perry gear down there, and some American football NFL stuff. Some food, like popcorn and whatever else it was. So not a particularly exciting Go Global this month, it must be said. But anyway, there we've got Exit, which is basically just the letters page. There's the star letter, probably some cheeky little swine saying something to get a t-shirt. There's that rapping rabbi, if you remember him from the front cover. Just being a little bit silly there in his little letter, if you want to read that, well, you can. And if you want to read the reply, actually, does it want to focus? I know no one probably cares, but there we are. There's his reply. And all the rest of it. Someone asking for pen pals, getting an Atari ST-E. Good choice. I used to have an STE. And then they just talk about what's coming up next week. Some decent stuff there. That's that. And then on the back cover, we've got competition. Again, the famous 0898 numbers, where you pay 50 pence at least per minute. Actually, then again, 34 pence, cheap rate, and 45p at all other times. Well, basically 50 pence. And you could win rollerblades, a mountain bike, a mongoose mountain bike no less, a Yamaha mini motorbike, and all that skate gear, for want of a better term. So yeah, that's that. Not worth the money, quite frankly. Save your money, buy yourself some sweets. That's what I would have done back then. So there we are, Games X, first Games X vid for absolutely ages. I promise, for those who care, might not be many, but for those who do care, I will be coming back with more of these with a lot more regularity than I have been. I've been very slack. So there we are, 21st to 26th of June 1991, issue 9 of Games X. Unbelievable. Back in the day, nostalgia at its finest. See you later.